Chapter 1, Almighty King. Instantly maxed out. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding Ling spent his life savings to buy an expensive gaming helmet. He was afraid that the helmet would be damaged, so he protected it tightly all the way until he rode an e-donkey back to the rental house. Only then did he relax a little. This is the 3rd year since he came to this blue star world. In his previous life, he was an ordinary person. When he came to this world that was almost the same as the Earth in his previous life, he could still only be an ordinary person. The competitive pressure is too great. Even the wedding gift Xian Dingling couldn't come up with it, not to mention buying a house, a car, 3 gold items, transportation fees, banquet fees, etc. Therefore, even if he had a girlfriend, he soon broke up with her, and to this day, he is still a bachelor. Just when Ding Ling thought that this would be the end of his life, a turning point occurred. A month ago, an epic-making, mythical, game appeared out of thin air. This game is almost popular in hundreds of large and small countries in Blue Star at the speed of light. Especially after half a month of trial playing, the various emotional contents expressed by the internal beta players made the game even more popular, but it's because beta testers discovered that as long as people become stronger in the game, they will also become stronger in the real world. Although there are some prerequisites, as long as the conditions are met, the speed of becoming stronger will be beyond imagination. After some internal beta players shared before and after videos of their strength, agility, high jump, etc. It completely ignited the fire in many people's hearts. Groups of people bought gaming helmets one after another, entered the gaming world, and began their journey of self-improvement. Although many people failed to improve, but under the premise that the base of game players is increasing, more and more people are bringing out strong abilities from the game. When weak players suddenly transform into muscular men, many men couldn't sit still at first. Which man doesn't have a wild beast living in his inner world? Which man doesn't long to be as strong as a dragon and be a hero? And with the tide of men entering the game, many elderly people who longed to become healthy and strong followed. Then the woman entered. Although there are many people who enter for different reasons, it is undeniable that this game is now known to almost everyone. Walking on the street, you can see advertisements for this mythical game everywhere, and you can hear groups of people discussing the content and gameplay of the game. Ding Ling, who is busy with work, also wants to get into gaming. He is even ready to buy a gaming helmet after saving some money, but 2 days ago, a library suddenly awakened in his mind. There is not a single book in the library except for the endless shelves. There is no explanation either. Even so, Ding Ling was extremely excited and happy. He spent a long time thinking about it, but couldn't figure it out. Finally, I discovered the secret of the library after accidentally flipping through a basic psychology book at home. This library can be used in real life. I just don't know if it can be used in the game. Ding Ling hugged his helmet, his heart beating fast. It's like a poor man who had nothing suddenly got 1 billion, or even more like a beggar who suddenly became an emperor. The exciting and dreamlike feeling is extremely real. After all, Ding Ling was ready to live a life of mediocrity. How could he remain calm when a legendary plug-in suddenly hit him? He closed his eyes slightly, and then he saw a library very clearly. There are hundreds of books stacked on each of the top 5 bookshelves in the library. Have Ponzi psychology, high school physics, advanced mathematics, electromagnetism, architecture. These books were Ding Ling's discovery that the basic psychology at home had reached full level in an instant. After being mastered by him skillfully, he was surprised and happy, so he hurried to the library and frantically browsed hundreds and thousands of books. To be precise, I can only flip through it and just glance at it casually, but every book is no exception. All levels are reached instantly. It can be said without exaggeration, now Ding Ling is clearly, a master who has mastered dozens of foreign languages. Doctor of mathematics, master of psychology, god of cooking, master sculptor, top chess player, calligrapher, top pianist, top painter, professional racing driver. Besides, Ding Ling spent more time looking for fitness books and various martial arts secrets. It's a pity. The martial arts secrets in reality are just fake, although Ding Ling reached the maximum level instantly. But all I learned were routines. Now Ding Ling can say that when it comes to Tai Chi, Xingyi Quan, Luohan Quan, Chang Quan, Wing Chun and other boxing, palm, and body movements, he ranks second, and no one dares to say first, because he has reached the full level of these routine martial arts. Who can compare with him? Fitness Master, Pseudo Tai Chi Master, Pseudo Wing Chun Master, Master of Pseudo Xingyiquan. There are hundreds of various boxing techniques, palm techniques, and body techniques. They are all pseudo-level, of course. The above library plugins are not listed. Ding Ling compiled them in his mind for convenience. I estimate that there should be real Tai Chi masters, Xing Yi Quan masters, and Wing Chun masters in the real world, but it's a pity. I can't get in touch with these people. Ding Ling sighed. If he could learn so many martial arts in reality, he would definitely learn them first, but today he specifically took time off to visit libraries throughout the city. I also checked a lot of information online. Unfortunately, he didn't get the martial arts he wanted. Instead, he got various other messy books, which gave Ding Ling many more titles, breaststroke master, butterfly master, running master. Some libraries still have books that teach people about swimming, high jumping, running, etc., which are relatively unsophisticated. Ding Ling reached full level instantly. Really, in an instant, I mastered breaststroke, butterfly stroke, etc. You must know that although he was not a landlubber in the past, he was still close to it. He definitely had no chance to become a swimming master, but now he has a very clear feeling that even if he falls into the Yangtze and Yellow rivers, he can easily swim breaststroke, butterfly, etc. Of course he didn't try, because he had tried various martial arts routines yesterday. The result is, he can perform the routines of martial arts that he has never known and understood extremely beautifully, and is better than many stars in the movie. Besides, many foreign languages that were incomprehensible in the past can be understood at a glance. Chapter 2 Player Square Hot Discussions Ranking Number 1. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This plugin is too powerful. Ding Ling was pleasantly surprised. If it weren't for mythological games taking the world by storm now, just rely on his current professional level. What does he do that doesn't make him money? There is no need to be a hard-working code typist anymore. He decisively quit his job. Ignoring the strange looks from my colleagues and boss, I took my life savings and the funds I got from my recent resignation to buy this gaming helmet. I hope the game world will allow me to be exposed to more martial arts. Everyone else can bring their strength from the game back to the real world. Doesn't it make sense that I can't? As long as I can learn martial arts in the game and reach full level instantly. Then wouldn't I be so strong in reality? Ding Ling looked full of longing. In reality, for more than 2 days, he almost went through the skill books in various libraries. Of course he also read some comics, novels, and mythology books. After finding that they were useless, he stopped reading them and focused on reading various skill books from various foreign languages, architecture, physics, chemistry, and other basic skills in the Blue Star world. To medicine, medicinal material identification, acupuncture, Western medicine and other medical skills, then to fitness, sword dancing, boxing, palm skills, body skills and other skills to improve physical fitness. It can be said, Ding Ling in just a few days, he has become an almost omnipotent master. This feels so good. Ding Ling felt like he was dreaming these past few days. In his previous life, he often read novels and saw various cheats, and systems. He also longed for the day when he got cheats countless times. But even after time travel, he shouted in his heart, "Grandpa, system countless times day and night." Also useless. He is still ordinary, that is, the library suddenly woke up a few days ago. Let him see hope. It made him feel like he was in a dream. I feel like I can really do anything now. Various skills are flying in Ding Ling's mind. He feels that his physical fitness has also improved a lot. Those fitness essentials, martial arts routines, running essentials, swimming essentials, etc. were instantly maxed out, allowing his muscles, internal organs, etc. to be forged. It can be said, Ding Ling's current physical fitness has doubled that of his past self. He also tried to move a 100-gene bag of rice at home and did a few standard squats with ease. Several highs. This was absolutely impossible in the past. You've really become stronger. Ding Ling clenched his fists and his eyes flashed. There are endless bookshelves inside this library. Now it's just a few bookshelves filled with all kinds of basic books. That's not enough. What will happen if I fill the shelves of this library with all kinds of skill books? Thinking about it, Ding Ling couldn't help but feel excited, but this is not possible in the real world, because in the real world, the only knowledge points that Ding Ling can access at this level are in libraries, the internet, and other places. Some real essence may not be accessible until his status becomes higher. But what he is most eager to do now is to try the things in the game and see if he can learn them instantly and reach the maximum level. Let's get started. Ding Ling put on the helmet according to the instruction manual, lay down on the bed, and closed her eyes slightly. The next second, his vision went dark. Ding Ling felt as if his soul and thoughts were forcibly carried away at this moment, breaking down a layer of barriers and flying towards another dimensional world. He felt dizzy, but not for long. His eyes lit up and he found that he had arrived in a new realm. He looked quickly around. This looks like an extremely vast square. The square was crowded with people. There is a circle of light under everyone's feet. Some of them are setting up stalls to sell items, some are talking loudly, and some are staring blankly at the void in front of them, mumbling something, as if they are talking about something. Ding Ling was a little surprised. He didn't expect to come to such a place, but soon, a prompt panel also appeared in front of his eyes. Character: Ding Ling. Age: 23 years old. Race: human. Alignment: none. Occupation: none. Level: none. Strength: bones 1. Ordinary people are 1 point. Wisdom 2. Strength 2. Ordinary people are 1. Agility 2. Constitution 2. Defense 2. Charisma 2. Weapons: none. Skills: acupuncture. Level 10. Swimming. Level 10. Fitness. Level 10. Elementary psychology. Level 10. Xiong Chinese language. Level 10. Northern language. Level 10. Southern cuisine cooking. Level 10. Northern cuisine cooking. Level 10. Sculpture. Level 10. Watercolor painting. Level 10. Sketch. Level 10. Calligraphy. Level 10. Racing. Level 10. There are hundreds of skills. In terms of painting alone, there are 7 or 8 types listed, including watercolor painting, comic painting, traditional Chinese painting, etc. Comprehensive evaluation: all-rounder. The Superman among new players. Given that the player Ding Ling is extremely outstanding, he is currently ranked first in the overall player rankings. Click to view the rankings. Ding Ling couldn't help being slightly shocked when he saw this. I just logged into the game, and I won first place before I even figured out the situation. Out of curiosity, he blurted out the words ranking list. The next moment, various rankings are out. The comprehensive ranking list was ranked first, and his name was bold and red, ranking first. First place, Ding Ling. New player. Current plane: none. Cleared planes: none. Almost at the same time. The whole square was boiling. Everyone, look, the comprehensive ranking list has been refreshed, and there is a first place out of thin air, named Ding Ling. My God, this guy is still a new player. Incredible. How did he do it? You know, Kong Tianhua, an old player in the internal beta, has been playing this game for a month. He is very strong in the game, with a force of more than 1,000 pounds, and has become a general. This Ding Ling is even stronger than Kong Tianhua in comprehensive strength. What the hell? Ding Ling is not on the other rankings. How come he is on the comprehensive ranking? Does he have any special comprehensive skills? The discussion was very loud. Ding Ling heard it clearly, but he did not discuss it with others, and continued to read the game manual. He did not forget the purpose of coming here. He read for a long time. Ding Ling finally understood and thought. There are countless planes in this myth game. From the planes of the Three Kingdoms, Sui Dynasty, Qin Dynasty, Ming Dynasty and other periods, to the martial arts planes such as the Legend of Condor Heroes, Demigods and Semi-Devils, the Smiling Proud Wanderer, Feng Yun, and the Flying Dagger of Shaoli. There are also the fairy planes such as Journey to the West, Conferred Gods, the Legend of the White Snake, and the Legend of Neza, as well as the advanced fantasy and prehistoric planes, and the top chaos planes, etc. And what players have to do is to constantly improve themselves and break through the planes one by one, until the complete strategy is completed. Ding Ling was thoughtful. how can this game have so many familiar film and television worlds? This world is very similar to the previous life, some literary and artistic works have everything, so Ding Ling has no chance to make money as a plagiarist, and is this game world developed by this blue star? Ding Ling is not sure. If the martial arts and abilities in the game can really be brought back to the real world, then the water of this blue star is too deep. Chapter 3, Jizhou Camp in the Late Eastern Han Dynasty. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Ding Ling was alert and solemn, he felt that he might have only touched the surface of Blue Star in the past few years. Forget it, let's start the game first. As a new player, there are only 3 choices for the planes that can be touched at the beginning: the end of the Sui Dynasty, the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty, the end of the Qin Dynasty. Ding Ling chose the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty. The reason is very simple, because the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty is a plane set up with reference to the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and Ding Ling is most familiar with the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Although he knows about the end of the Sui Dynasty and the end of the Qin Dynasty, he can't be as familiar with it as the Romance of the Three Kingdoms. How to choose? Of course, choose the one that is most familiar. Player Ding Ling is sure to choose the plane of the end of the Eastern Han Dynasty. Confirmed. The choice is successful, and the transmission will start soon. Boom! The next moment, the light circle under his feet circulated, and Ding Ling disappeared in the player's square in an instant. The players were obviously not surprised by this, and were still discussing Ding Ling on the comprehensive ranking list, unaware that Ding Ling had just stood in front of them. An hour later, Ding Ling followed many players wearing armor and standing in the square. Listening to General Qinghuan explaining the training essentials, Ding Ling did not expect that he would be randomly assigned to Han Fu's Jizhou camp. Every new player has the right to choose a plane at the beginning, but they do not have the right to choose a camp. Some people are lucky to become brothers with Zhao Zilong, some may be unlucky to fall under Dongzhuo's hands and enjoy Dongzhuo's silver power all the time. He fell into the Jizhou camp, which can only be said to be neither good nor bad. An hour's time, Ding Ling has completely adjusted his mentality and started training with many players who are either full of resentment, or energetic, or full of desire. The opening is half an hour of running around the barracks with weights. After running, many people fell down directly, more people fell behind and couldn't keep up, and this is just a selection process. Those who performed well in the half-hour weighted run were directly assigned to General Qinghuan. Those who performed poorly were assigned to a military commander or a garrison commander. At this moment, General Qinghuan has taught the players the key to training, he said loudly. Those who stand out from me will be assigned to our Jizhou's unparalleled General Pan Feng to learn higher-level martial arts skills. If you want to become stronger, work hard. Hearing the unparalleled General Pan Feng, many people's expressions were very strange, but under the gaze of General Qinghuan, they could not slander Pan Feng, so they could only hold it back, and their faces were distorted. Ding Ling was not among them. For him, the Jizhou camp was just a springboard. As long as he learned all the skills, he could jump out from here and go to other places to study. He was also learning with the players at this moment. Of course, he paid more attention to the library. He found that a book was slowly condensing on a new bookshelf in the library. After Qinghuan finished talking about the precautions and key points of the Zhuanggong, Ding Ling thought about it several times in his mind and made sure that there was nothing missing. This book took shape, then, low-level Zhuanggong full level, strength plus 0.2, agility plus 0.2, constitution plus 0.2. Ding Ling felt that his own strength was instantly strengthened a lot, and the whole person became lighter and more agile at this moment. The Zhuanggong that originally seemed quite difficult, at this moment, he did it like an antelope hanging on a horn, naturally, as if he was like this. It really works. Ding Ling was pleasantly surprised. I just don't know if I can bring this power back to reality completely. If I can, then this game is really amazing. I can't imagine the result of opening up the journey to the West Plane and the conferred God Plane in the future. If the players collectively cultivate immortals and become gods in the future, then reality will definitely be extremely exciting. Qinghuan obviously noticed Ding Ling too. Ding Ling was so conspicuous among the poor performers that it was hard not to attract Qinghuan's attention. What's your name? Chenghuan walked to Ding Ling and stared at him with his eyes, as if he was looking at a distinguished and extraordinary person. My name is Ding Ling. Ding Ling, really? Chenghuan nodded with satisfaction. Your Zhuanggong has reached the standard. Next, you have two choices: continue to practice Zhuanggong, or practice a basic military swordsmanship. Continue to practice Zhuanggong. Ding Ling did not hesitate. Okay. I'll teach you, you listen carefully and watch. Chenghuan did not look like an NPC at all. His wisdom and behavior were no different from those of ordinary people. This is also the reason why this game shocked the world. It is so realistic. If you can be resurrected after death in the game world, many people would think they have traveled through time. Of course, no one wants to die, because death will not only cause a level drop, but it is also very likely that all of their items will be exposed. Unless it is absolutely necessary, no one will do such a stupid thing as sacrifice. This guy. The other players looked at Ding Ling and couldn't help but be shocked, glanced sideways, and started talking in whispers. What they said was nothing more than saying that Ding Ling could never be a pure newcomer. Otherwise, how could he stand out so quickly? Isn't this a joke? Do you really think they are trash? But the next moment, Ding Ling was seen landing on the ground extremely vigorously like a horse, with his body ups and downs. It was clear that he had practiced the horse posting technique to the point of transformation. All the players couldn't help but be stunned, their eyes almost popped out, and then they all questioned and affirmed. This guy must be an old player. Otherwise, it would be outrageous. How could there be a person in this world who could instantly learn and do better than the original version after being taught it once? They didn't believe that Ding Ling would be so defiant, only Chenghuan believed it. He looked shocked and stayed blank for a while. Then he stepped forward and patted Ding Ling on the shoulder. It seems that you are very talented in Zhuang Kung Fu. Although I know the next advanced version of Horse Zhuang Kung Fu, Dragon Walking Tiger Zhuang Kung Fu, I am not able to master it skillfully. If you want to learn, I can take you to Pan learn from General Feng. Of course, if you want to learn sword skills, I can continue to teach you. I learn knife skills. Ding Ling answered decisively, bit off more than you can chew. This refers to the inability to use and learn skillfully, but Ding Ling has the library plugin that reaches full level instantly. For him, he has many skills but no one can overwhelm him. The more skills you have, the better, because after learning a skill, he can become stronger. Just after he learned the Ma Zhuang Kung Fu, he saw the game panel prompt again, maximum level of Horse Zhuanggong, strength plus 0.4, agility plus 0.4, physique plus 0.4. Chapter 4 Medal of Achievement. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. This time, a lot of attribute points were added. Ding Ling not only felt a surge in strength, but also his body became lighter and lighter, as if he could jump more than 10 meters with a light jump. This feeling made Ding Ling feel very happy and comfortable. He liked this feeling of constantly improving himself. Those years of being a salted fish were really painful. Now that he has the opportunity to become a superior person, Ding Ling naturally has no reason to slack off. Therefore, when he heard General Chenghuan say whether to learn swordsmanship, he was so decisive. Okay. General Chenghuan looked at Ding Ling with softer and softer eyes. You didn't aim too high, but chose to learn simple swordsmanship first, which is worthy of recognition and praise. After you learn swordsmanship, I will recommend you to General Pan Feng to be a garrison commander in our army. As soon as these words came out, all the players looked at him sideways and envied him. Garrison commander. Going up to the next level are generals such as military marquis, military sima, and captain lieutenant. How many people dream of this rank? This guy named Ding Ling is definitely an old man who is cunning and pretends to be a new player. Other players are more and more sure, especially when they think of Ding Ling's amazing performance in the training and practice of weighted running, pole kung fu, and horse pole kung fu. They are even more sure that it is correct. You should know that new players are basically second-class disabled. Many of them can't carry anything on their shoulders or hands. Compared with old players, the gap is too obvious. Moreover, in order to gain the favor of some generals, many old players come to the new recruits' camp for training, just to get a higher starting point, which has precedence. Ding Ling was speechless. He was not the kind of person in Qin Huan's eyes. The reason why he learned swordsmanship was that he thought Pan Feng was good at axe skills. If he didn't learn swordsmanship now, he would definitely experience more twists and turns when he went to Pan Feng to learn. It would be better to learn here, of course. He didn't make it clear, but looked at Qin Huan seriously and seriously. Qin Huan was obviously a pragmatic general. He did not hesitate to start explaining the swordsmanship to Ding Ling. He did not hide anything. All the recruits present could listen. There were indeed many players among the recruits who were listening, but it was a pity that they had not even learned the most basic Zhuanggong, and they were still learning swordsmanship. After listening for a while, they felt that it was impressive, and then they buried their heads in practicing Zhuanggong. As for Ding Ling, after he heard Qin Huan say it twice, a book automatically condensed on the bookshelf of the library. 4 big words were written on the cover of the book: Primary Swordsmanship, full level, strength plus 0.1, agility plus 0.2, physique plus 0.1. The moment the book was condensed, the primary swordsmanship was full level. Ding Ling not only improved his strength a lot, but also his agility and physique. This swordsmanship is an external swordsmanship, which belongs to a kind of external skill. When it is practiced to the full level, it will naturally improve the 3 attribute points of strength, agility, and physique. Not only that, Ding Ling's combat power has been improved by more than a little. Before, he only knew some fancy moves, which had no lethality at all, but were extremely ornamental. It was particularly beautiful to fight with. But this elementary sword technique is different. Every move is life-threatening, and it goes straight to the vital points of people. It can be said that, with this sword technique in hand, Ding Ling's combat power can be said to have doubled instantly. Ding Ling was greatly encouraged and glanced at the character panel. Character: Ding Ling, age, 23 years old, race, human, faction, Jizhou Hanfu, occupation, soldier, level, 1. Strength, root 1, ordinary people have 1 point, wisdom 2, strength 2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4 plus 0.1, 2.7, agility 2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4 plus 0.2, 2.8, constitution 2 plus 0.2 plus 0.4 plus 0.1, 2.7, defense 2, charm 2, weapons, a set of armor and a broadsword. Skills: low-level Zhuanggong, level 10, horse Zhuanggong, level 10, basic sword skills, level 10. Acupuncture, level 10, swimming, level 10, fitness, level 10, basic psychology, level 10. It's only been more than an hour since I entered the game. There are such big changes, the future is promising. In the real world, very few skills are offensive and can grow, and most of them are just for show. If he hadn't learned hundreds of skills, it would not be enough to improve his strength, and here he only learned 3. Strength, agility, physique, etc. have improved by almost 1 point. Facts have proved that what Qin Huan teaches is real kung fu. Try it. Qin Huan explained it 3 times. Seeing Ding Ling's clear and enlightened look, he couldn't help but feel a little doubtful. He only explained it 3 times. It's impossible for Ding Ling to have a thorough understanding of this sword technique. You know, it took me 3 years to learn this sword technique to perfection. This was taught by the master himself. Okay. Ding Ling was not vague either. In order to learn more real kung fu, he would not be perfunctory. After all, only by attracting attention can he stand out and learn more advanced martial arts earlier. Swish. Ding Ling danced with a big knife, like a flying wild goose. His posture was so graceful and his body was so calm. It can be said that he was as natural as nature. This is clearly the state of practicing the basic swordsmanship to the state of great perfection, and there is no room for improvement. Qin Huan's eyes were dull, and his jaw almost dropped to the ground. When Ding Ling finished playing and stood still, he coughed dryly and said in disbelief, "Are you sure you just learned this sword technique?" "I'm 100% sure." Ding Ling replied solemnly, Cheng Huan was speechless. All the players couldn't help but secretly complain, is it interesting for an old player to come to the new recruit camp to show off? Too shameless. No player believed that Ding Ling was a newcomer and had just practiced sword techniques. If there really is someone who can play sword techniques better and more perfectly than the instructor, after watching them twice, players are willing to call him the chosen one. Obviously, there is no such person in this era. Achievement medal, champion in the new recruit camp. Note, there is no doubt. You can graduate from the new recruit camp and become the most dazzling one among them. It was at this time, Ding Ling heard the game prompt sound, clicked it with his mind, and saw these two sentences. He was surprised and wondered, what is this achievement medal for? But he couldn't find the manual for a while, and he was too lazy to look for it again. Just looking at Cheng Huan felt a little uncomfortable when Ding Ling looked at him, and he coughed dryly, restrained the astonishment on his face, and praised with a slightly red face. Since I started my apprenticeship, this is the first time I have seen such a talented genius like you. Perhaps only General Pan Feng in his youth can compare with you. Hearing General Pan Feng, the players looked at Ding Ling with a playful look in their eyes. Chapter 5 Highlights. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Whoever has read Romance of the Three Kingdoms doesn't know that Pan Feng is a fake. Although his name is so famous, he died faster than anyone else. He is the most unworthy of the name among the generals, someone comparable to General Pan Feng. Doesn't that mean Ding Ling will die very excitingly in the future? This is what the players think. Everyone looked at Ding Ling and laughed secretly. Ding Ling naturally understood the players' thoughts. His eyes twitched, but he didn't refute it, just because he knew Cheng Huan's good intentions. It is rare to meet a responsible person like Cheng Huan in the new recruits camp in Jizhou. Therefore, Ding Ling listened very seriously. Cheng Huan was more pleased when he saw it. Such a genius, but not arrogant or impatient, will become a great man in the future. Achievement medal, General Cheng Huan praised you 3 times, praising you from the bottom of his heart. Note, you have completely convinced Cheng Huan, a general under Han Fu. This works. Ding Ling couldn't help but be slightly surprised when he heard the prompt sound. Although he didn't know what the achievement medal could be used for, he instinctively felt that this thing must be worth a lot. Because it's not easy to get it. Don't look at him getting 2 in a short time, that's all because he cheated. How about trying it with an ordinary person? I wanted to take you to see General Pan Feng right away, but I saw that you are so talented in swordsmanship that I couldn't bear to bury your talent. Cheng Huan stroked his beard and looked at Ding Ling, as if he was looking at a treasure. There is a man in our camp who is proficient in swordsmanship. His name is Gao Lan. Although he is currently only a military commander, his military skills are enough to be our Jizhou general. I can introduce you to him. As for whether he will teach you swordsmanship, I'm not sure, but I will try my best to speak for you. Thank you, General, Ding Ling said gratefully. Although he didn't know how difficult it was to apprentice to other people, he knew it must be very difficult from the jealous eyes of the players next to him. Cheng Huan treated him like this, which was considered to be the utmost kindness to him, although Cheng Huan was only a minor character in the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, but it was also remarkable that he could leave his name in history. I have nothing to teach you. Cheng Huan sighed. Although I know a set of high-level swordsmanship, I am not very familiar with it. I am afraid of misleading the students, so I will not teach you. Ding Ling wanted to say it was okay, you can teach. But seeing that Cheng Huan had made up his mind, he did not speak. Wait here. Cheng Huan walked away directly with big strides, obviously preparing to build a relationship for Ding Ling. Many soldiers could not help but whisper when they saw this. After so many years, this is the first time I've seen General Cheng Huan lose his composure like this. It seems that this Ding Ling is really a genius. If he becomes successful in the future, General Cheng Huan will definitely have a good reputation for cherishing talents. Why don't you think about it? Ding Ling is still in the starting stage. If we make friends with him at this time, won't we have a chance to soar to the sky in the future? That everyone understands the principle that if one person succeeds, everyone will benefit. many NPCs couldn't help but run over to communicate with Ding Ling with eager faces. Not many players came, after all, in the eyes of the players, Ding Ling is just a black-bellied old silver coin. If they get too close, they are afraid of being poisoned to death. There are also those who are not afraid of poison and ask Ding Ling about various matters. It was at this time, Ding Ling realized that they didn't know that he was the first in a comprehensive ranking. He was quite surprised at first. Later, he looked at the character panel carefully and was relieved. It turned out that the ranking can only be viewed in the player square. No wonder these people were unmoved when they heard their names. The issue of the medal must be answered in the player square. After a while, Cheng Huan arrived, and the players and NPCs who had been surrounding Ding Ling dispersed and returned to their respective teams. Cheng Huan seemed to be excited and did not care about the actions of the NPCs and players. He waved to Ding Ling from a distance. "Ding Ling, come here." Ding Ling walked over quickly. Approaching, Cheng Huan laughed and said, "I tried my best to persuade Gao Lan, and he finally agreed to teach you swordsmanship. But he will only teach you once. Whether you can learn it depends on your ability." "Thank you for your help, General," Ding Ling said solemnly. "When you become rich in the future, don't forget that you have someone like me." Cheng Huan smiled. "Don't worry. I, Ding Ling, am not an ungrateful person." "Yeah." Cheng Huan became more and more satisfied, and he liked Ding Ling the more he looked at him. Not arrogant or impatient, not humble or overbearing, not arrogant or boastful, knowing etiquette, gratitude, and righteousness. It was simply a gift from heaven to Cheng Huan. "Follow me." Cheng Huan walked in front, Ding Ling followed closely behind him. Ding Ling knew Gao Lan, who was later one of the 4 pillars of Hebei. During the Battle of Guandu, he fought with Su Chu and there was no winner, which shows his ability. He was recognized as one of the 4 pillars in such a large area. It shows his martial arts and methods. As for Gao Lan's later death, you can see from the Romance of the 3 Kingdoms that he died completely from Zhao Yun's surprise attack. It was not a fair death at all. Facing the surprise attack of a top master like Zhao Yun, how many people can resist it? This plane was created with reference to the Romance of the 3 Kingdoms, which shows that the combat power of the generals is basically close to that of the Romance of the 3 Kingdoms. Although Gao Lan is only a military Sima now, but the level of strength is definitely among the top few in Jizhou. Han Fu arranged such a great general as a military commander, but let Cheng Huan, who was far less capable than Gao Lan, be a general. No wonder Han Fu was unpopular later and had to withdraw from Jizhou. Ding Ling's mind was full of thoughts. After a while, Cheng Huan had brought him to another camp of new recruits. Here Gao Lan was also teaching the new recruits to practice basic standing exercises. Seeing Cheng Huan coming, Gao Lan asked his deputy to help lead the new recruits, and he strode to Cheng Huan, looking at Ding Ling, his eyes sparkling. "Are you the peerless genius Ding Ling mentioned by General Cheng?" "I don't dare to be a peerless genius. But I am Ding Ling." Ding Ling glanced at Gao Lan, seeing that he was 8 feet tall, holding a long spear, and was actually a handsome man. He couldn't help but wonder how to learn spear skills from him. "Come with me." Gao Lan turned around and went directly to the military commander's tent. There was no one in the tent. After he entered, he saw Ding Ling followed him in. He didn't waste any words, put down his spear, picked up a long sword on the weapon rack beside him, and said directly, "I will only show you the high-level sword technique once. As for how much you can learn, it depends on your luck." "Yes." Ding Ling was solemn and thanked him. Gao Lan waved his hand, indicating that Ding Ling didn't need to be so polite, and then he started to show his sword directly. Chapter 6 Advanced Sword Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Gao Lan's sword is a long sword. The sword skills he performed were obviously battlefield moves. The sword is breathtaking and the evil aura is strong enough to stop a child from crying. At the end of the game, powerful whirlwinds of energy were created out of thin air, and with a crackling sound, the weapon rack on one side was actually broken into pieces. Good sword skills. Cheng Huan also walked in and couldn't help but applaud and praise. Gao Lan, your swordsmanship is becoming more and more exquisite and perfect. It has reached the point where your strength can hurt people. It is really amazing. I am far inferior to you. After hearing this, Gao Lan relaxed his brows and looked happy. It was obvious that he really liked Xinghuan's compliments on him. It seems that Xinghuan relied on this method to get Gao Lan to agree to let Ding Ling learn sword skills. Ding Ling closed his eyes and carefully recalled the scenes of sword skills. On a bookshelf in the library in the Sea of Consciousness, a book was condensed at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon. Advanced sword technique has been successfully condensed, then, high-level sword skills fully achieved. Strength plus 0.3, agility plus 0.5. Physique plus 0.3. Almost instantly, Ding Ling became completely proficient in mastering high-level sword techniques. It was as if he had practiced this sword technique for more than 10 years. And the various sword moves in his mind were almost deeply engraved into his instincts. Ding Ling had a feeling, now I can easily perform this high-level sword technique. He was pleasantly surprised, just because he discovered that this high-level sword technique was more than twice as lethal as the primary sword technique. With this set of sword skills, it is not a problem for him, Ding Ling, to double his combat power again. How about it, that when Xinghuan saw Ding Ling open his eyes and his face was filled with joy, he couldn't help but be slightly startled. He thought, it's impossible to learn high-level sword skills just by watching them once. He thought so, but he still asked instinctively. Have you memorized it? Or have you learned it? Learned it? Gao Lan looked sideways, unhappy. It took me 4 years to learn advanced sword skills. Although Ding Ling is a genius with swords, he can't learn it just by watching it once. Do you really think Gao Lan is a fool? Xinghuan coughed in embarrassment. Gao Lan, you know that's not what I meant. I just couldn't help myself. You haven't seen Ding Ling learning pile skills and sword skills. If you had seen him, you would probably have the same thoughts as me. Oh, Gao Lan raised his eyebrows and didn't care about it anymore. He also looked at Ding Ling curiously. Xinghuan admires you so much. It's really rare. If you remember this high-level sword technique, show it to me. If you really remember it, I will give you more guidance in the next time. Yes. Ding Ling was not polite either. He directly took the long knife from Gao Lan. The long knife sank slightly in his hand. I'm afraid it weighs 40 or 50 pounds. Ding Ling has now reached 3 points in strength, and can impressively exert a force of 300 kilograms. This long knife is a bit heavy for him. It's a bit reluctant to use for knife play, but it can be used. Ding Ling gathered all his strength and walked with all his strength. Boom. The sword moves are like wind wheels that cannot be splashed by water, one sword after another, extremely sharp and fierce. It's like a warrior showing off his power on the battlefield. The force was so strong that the void crackled, and the last killing move fell with a click. The weapon rack that fell to the ground on one side was split into 2 halves again. Xinghuan was stunned, Gao Lan was stunned. General, Ding Ling put away the knife and stood up, returning the long knife. Gao Lan took it with a look on his face, coughed uncomfortably, and asked with some uncertainty. Are you sure you just came into contact with high-level sword skills? It's a bit awkward to speak. It can be seen that he was shocked in his heart. Yes. General, Ding Ling replied solemnly. Gao Lan was speechless, but instinctively he still didn't believe it because this was so outrageous. It's simply a fantasy. No matter how talented you are, you will never do this. You must know that he has learned this sword technique for 4 years. Awesome, so awesome. Xinghuan applauded and praised, looking at Ding Ling with surprise in his eyes. I didn't expect that your talent is even more outstanding than I thought. I was not sure about recommending you as the village chief at first, but now I am very sure. Gao Lan couldn't help but look sideways after hearing this, and looked at Xinghuan with a strange expression. General Cheng, do you really believe this is true? Certainly. Xinghuan stroked his beard and nodded. What else? Do you think it's fake? That's not true. I paused for a moment while looking up, and then came back after a long while. I just think this is too weird. Indeed. Xinghuan agreed. But the world is full of wonders. Wasn't General Pan Feng so outstanding when he was young? It can be seen that we can't look at geniuses with ordinary eyes. Maybe Ding Ling's intuition and talent in sword skills are terrifyingly strong, just like General Pan Feng's intuition in axe. Gao Lan was stunned again. He looked at Ding Ling with a thoughtful look on his face, as if he was very torn. After a long time, he gritted his teeth and said, "Ding Ling, I have a book of swordsmanship handed down from my family. It's called Battlefield Sword Technique. It's a real martial art beyond high level. It's just that I haven't fully learned it yet. If you really think you have outstanding talent in swordsmanship, I can write it down. Show it to you." His expression was very serious. "But if you feel unsure, I won't give it to you. You can choose for yourself. I want to see it." Ding Ling said decisively, "This is simply a blessing from heaven. Gao Lan is one of the 4 pillars of the master. He has not completely learned the battlefield sword tactics. It can be seen that it is difficult and precious. You can see, but if you don't learn it, you must become a servant in my Gao family. Because the sword manual cannot be lost. It cannot be leaked." Gao Lan's expression was solemn. "But if you learn it, this matter will be over." He looked at Ding Ling with his eyes. "This is a bet, do you dare to bet?" He felt that he would win. The battlefield sword tactics are extremely profound. It is difficult to practice this sword tactics to perfection without fighting hundreds of battles on the battlefield. This is the opening statement of the sword tactics. Gao Lan didn't believe it at first, but more than 10 years have passed, and he still can't perfect this sword tactics. He has to believe it even if he doesn't believe it. Such a difficult sword technique, how could an outsider learn it in such a short time? Bet. Ding Ling had a desperate expression. "If I lose, General Gao will deal with me." "Ding Ling, you." Qing Huan was a little anxious. This was a good seedling that he had finally discovered. Was he just poached by Gao Lan? Although he had confidence in Ding Ling. But he had heard of the reputation of this battlefield sword technique. Gao Lan's ancestors became famous all over the world with this sword technique. It can be seen that it is extraordinary. Such a sword technique is probably dozens of times more difficult than high-level sword techniques. How could it be learned in such a short time? Chapter 7 Battlefield Sword Technique. You are listening at novelfull.audio. General Cheng, rest assured. Ding Ling seemed to be cheering himself up, and said loudly, "I will definitely do it." He has read the self-cultivation of actors, the lines and performance of actors, the expressions and notes of actors, etc. He has raised the skill of acting to the maximum level in many aspects. He is not to say that his acting skills are superb, but he can definitely beat most stars in seconds. It can be said that his acting skills are quite outstanding. Because of this, he actually hid it from Qing Huan and Gao Lan. Qing Huan became more and more anxious, and he almost took Ding Ling away directly. Gao Lan breathed a sigh of relief and couldn't wait to say, "Have you decided to gamble?" Ding Ling is a talent. If he can be used for his own benefit and as an assistant, Gao Lan's career in the future will definitely be smoother. It's decided. Okay. Gao Lan laughed loudly, not knowing whether he was laughing at himself for getting a talent or at Ding Ling for overestimating his abilities. He took out a scroll of silk from his arms and gave it to Ding Ling, saying, "This is the battlefield sword technique. I will only give you 1 day. After 1 day, if you haven't learned it, you must come to my Gao family with the sword manual." "No problem." Ding Ling nodded solemnly. "Great." Gao Lan nodded, looking at Ding Ling with a happy face. "You can take your time here. I'll go out to explain some things." After that, he left. Qing Huan stayed in the tent, sighing, looking at Ding Ling with pity and regret. Ding Ling did not explain, but hurriedly opened the battlefield sword technique and read it carefully, as he practiced the primary and advanced sword techniques to the full level. In terms of sword technique, Ding Ling's knowledge can be said to have surpassed many third-rate generals in a certain sense. He is no longer an idiot who knows nothing about martial arts. Because of this, he understands the value of the battlefield sword technique. No wonder Gao Lan is so confident that I will never be able to learn it. The difficulty of this battlefield sword technique is dozens or hundreds of times more difficult than the high-level sword technique. The two are not at the same level at all. It's like the difference between wood and metal, there is a world of difference. The high-level sword technique is called high-level, but in fact it is just a basic external skill. The battlefield sword technique in front of you is the real advanced martial arts. If you learn it, you can definitely become a second-rate general. Ding Ling's eyes became brighter and brighter as he looked at it. Cheng Huan noticed it and was a little surprised. Did you understand it? I'm studying it. Ding Ling replied seriously and continued to look carefully. Ah. Cheng Huan sighed. Even if you understand it, what's the point? You definitely can't learn it in just one day. Even Cheng Huan, who is extremely confident in Ding Ling, is like this, so you can understand why Gao Lan is so confident and sure that Ding Ling will lose. This also proves from the side that this battlefield sword technique is famous and extraordinary. At least in this Jizhou area, it is definitely a well-known advanced version of martial arts. Although I can understand a little, it is really difficult to learn it with my qualifications. Ding Ling originally wanted to try to learn it by studying and practicing, but after studying for half an hour, it still felt very strenuous and laborious, decisive to give up this thankless and stupid behavior. He has a plug-in. Why should he learn to study and practice martial arts like others? I will never do such stupid things again in the future. Ding Ling thought so in his heart, and then looked at the library. As expected, as he turned his attention to the library, he recalled all the details of the battlefield sword technique in his mind. In just a moment, a book condensed in the library, then, battlefield sword technique full level, strength plus 1.3, agility plus 1.5, physique plus 1.3, crack. Ding Ling's bones seemed to be making a crisp sound like bursting. This was the condensation of energy in his body, which greatly improved his strength, agility, and physique, causing his bones and muscles to undergo major changes. Ding Ling felt that his height seemed to have increased a little at this moment. He clenched his fists, a sense of transparent power came naturally. He felt that he could easily defeat the previous two selves. Not only did his strength increase by more than 100 pounds out of thin air, his speed also increased a lot, and his body became lighter and lighter, as if he could jump dozens of meters out of thin air with a light jump. He knew it was not an illusion. If he went all out now, he might really be able to jump that far. This feeling. It's really perfect, it's so cool. Ding Ling felt the joy of cheating again. Others worked hard for decades, but they couldn't compare to the moment when he cheated. This is a dimensionality reduction attack. How is it possible? Cheng Huan was shocked and looked at Ding Ling in disbelief. Your figure and height seem to have changed just now. How could this happen suddenly? Unless. He suddenly realized, his eyes were as big as copper bells, and he stammered. You can't you be? Yes. Before Cheng Huan finished speaking, Ding Ling said with a smile on his face. I have learned the battlefield sword tactics. Cheng Huan's face was dull, as if he was stupid. How long has it been? It seems that only half an hour has passed. I don't believe it. Cheng Huan took a long while to utter 3 words, and finally added. Unless you demonstrate it once. Originally, Ding Ling wanted to say that it didn't matter whether you believed it or not, but Cheng Huan helped him a lot. If it weren't for him, his initial progress would not have been so smooth. At this moment, Cheng Huan looked like he was exploring, curious, and expectant. He nodded, picked up the long sword to the side, and then began to play the battlefield sword tactics. Boom. Once the momentum was launched, a tragic battlefield momentum exploded in all directions. Cheng Huan was the first to bear the brunt. He was horrified and couldn't help but step back 3 steps. He stopped at the door of the tent. He looked at Ding Ling, surprised and shocked. At this moment, he began to believe Ding Ling's words, because this battlefield fighting spirit naturally generated by the sword tactics was enough to prove that Ding Ling had already achieved a great accomplishment in the battlefield sword tactics. That's amazing. How long has it been? Clang. Long sword in hand, Ding Ling began to wield it, becoming more and more handy. Before, he felt that the long sword was a little heavy to hold as a weapon, but now he felt it was just right. When he used the battlefield sword tactics, the long sword was like Ding Ling's arm, hitting wherever he pointed. Sometimes it turned into a raging dragon that turned the sea upside down, sometimes it turned into a fiercely charging armored lion, sometimes it turned into a divine blade that swept through thousands of troops. An ordinary long sword, in Ding Ling's hands, exerted a power comparable to that of a divine weapon, clang clang clang. The last sword was slashed out, accompanied by the clang of the sword, poof. The whole tent was chopped through. Chapter 8 Gao Lan and the players were shocked. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chenghuan was so shocked that his scalp was numb and he could no longer speak. He looked at Ding Ling with more and more surprise, as if he was looking at an unparalleled general who was about to rise. Huh? What's the sound? Gao Lanjing was in a happy mood teaching the new recruits basic skills. He seemed to have seen Ding Ling's end one day later. With a face of pain and helplessness, he followed him to the Gao family and became his own servant. But suddenly, he seemed to hear a loud noise, which came from the direction of his camp. What happened? Gao Lan looked over at Sun Xing in surprise. Seeing this, I couldn't help but be stunned, but it was because his tent collapsed. In the middle of the camp stood a young man holding a long sword. That young man was none other than Ding Ling. And standing next to Ding Ling was Chenghuan. It's just that there seems to be something wrong with Chenghuan's state at the moment. What happened? Gao Lan instinctively sensed that something was wrong. He thought of a possibility, but felt that it was too outrageous. But besides that, what could happen to make Chenghuan lose his composure like that? Gao Lan was thinking so much that he no longer had the time to teach the new recruits. He waved his deputy over again. Take them with you. After saying that, before the deputy could speak, he already ran towards Ding Ling's direction with his spear in hand. A group of new recruits were left looking at each other. Players don't know Ding Ling. But someone who can make their instructor, Gao Lan, go out several times must be a good person, but he didn't know he was aboriginal. Or a player. It should be an indigenous NPC. There seems to be no player in Jizhou who is doing particularly well at the moment, which can make Gao Lan, a master who will be one of the 4 pillars in the future, look at him with new eyes. Looking at how much Gao Lan attaches importance to that guy, it's obvious that he should not be underestimated. I just don't know which celebrity in history he is. The players couldn't help but look at Ding Ling up and down, secretly guessing, this mythical game is very real, and there is no player name marked above the head like other online games. Therefore, how to determine whether the other party is a player? We can only communicate through daily communication. In other words, those guys in the barracks who looked very weak at first glance during this period were probably players. Especially those who are still in their 70s and 80s and still participate in recruit training, they are definitely pure players, just because in the world of the 3 kingdoms, there has not yet been a situation where it is necessary to recruit old people to serve as soldiers, and the kind that looks very strong at first sight, most likely it's an NPC. Ding Ling looks very strong. He holds a big sword and lifts his weight as if it were light. This naturally attracts the players' attention and attention. Gao Lan pays more attention than the players. He strode to the camp tent, stared at Ding Ling and took a closer look, and couldn't help but take a breath, just because he understood the changes in Ding Ling. He looked down at the camp tent again. Sure enough, he saw the mark on the tent. The traces were fresh, and it looked like they had been split open by weapons. The only person standing just now was Ding Ling. A force that can split open a tent with one strike, not intentionally, but with strength? Gao Lan's heart was beating fast. He circled around Ding Ling twice in disbelief and said hesitantly. Ding Ling, I remember that you couldn't hold this long knife so easily before. Why have you made so much progress in just half an hour? Because I learned the sword technique on the battlefield. Ding Ling was high-spirited and activated her full-level acting skills, perfectly disguising herself as a confident and proud genius. And I have thoroughly understood the battlefield sword technique. That's why we have such a result. Gao Lan opened his mouth wide and wanted to say a few words, but he felt his tongue was tied. He twisted his neck, and it took him a while to feel better. Then he looked at Cheng Huan with a smile and said, "Do you believe it? I saw it with my own eyes. How can it be false?" Cheng Huan had already recovered from the shock inside. "I am 100% sure now. Ding Ling will definitely be an unparalleled general comparable to General Pan Feng in the future." Gao Lan's pupils suddenly dilated. "Although there have been speculations for a long time, but I really got this result, he still can't accept it. This is absolutely impossible." Gao Lan was even more excited than Cheng Huan, and his handsome face turned green, not sure whether it was because of embarrassment or because of shock and disbelief. "I don't believe it. If you don't believe it, there's nothing you can do about it." Cheng Huan has now looked away. He is just a third-rate general anyway. Facing an unparalleled general like Ding Ling who is destined to become a first-rate general in the future, naturally he can only look up. Seeing Gao Lan's disbelief at this moment, he couldn't help but say, "That's the truth." Gao Lan glanced at Cheng Huan with an ugly expression. He had said nice things to him before, but now that he had received the benefits, he started to turn against him. Is this how a person should behave? Cheng Huan obviously noticed that his words and expressions might be misunderstood, and he immediately said solemnly, "Gao Lan, don't get me wrong. I was actually deeply shocked, that's why I said it so casually." "So be it." He looked at Ding Ling. "You performed the battlefield sword technique just now and let Gao Lan take a good look at your peerless talent in sword skills. After talking about it, I couldn't help but feel elated." Obviously, he felt honored and proud to have unearthed such a treasure. "Yes, General." Ding Ling also hoped that Cheng Huan would continue to take him to learn other martial arts moves, or try to see if Gao Lan could teach him spearmanship. There was no reason to hide his shortcomings. Clang. The long sword in his hand was slightly raised, and then the battlefield sword tactics were activated, and a tragic momentum naturally emanated. Boom! The sword followed him, and the long sword in his hand once again turned into a streak of silk, a dragon. Clang clang clang. A strong wind blew in his face. Cheng Huan was very impressed and praised him. Gao Lan had no expression on his face, but his pupils were shrinking smaller and smaller. God knows how shocked he was at this moment. The three views were shattered just like this. "This guy is so strong," that the players were a little distracted, looking sideways and talking. "I've seen some first-class general swordsmanship is not as good as his. It's really beautiful. What kind of swordsmanship is this? Even from a distance, it makes people feel terrified." Yes. There are not many swordsmanship that is both ornamental and lethal in the Three Kingdoms world. This is obviously a famous general from Jizhou. I just seem to hear Gao Lan call him Ding Ling. Do you remember there was a famous general named Ding Ling in the Three Kingdoms? I have heard of Ding Feng and Ding Yuan, but this is the first time I have heard of Ding Ling. Boom! Ding Ling's last slash was like splitting mountains and seas. With a loud bang, the tent that had fallen to the ground was shattered again. Chapter 9, Famous General Zhang He. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It's embarrassing. Ding Ling put away her sword and stood up, speaking to Gao Lan and Cheng Huan. Gao Lan looked at the sky speechlessly, thinking, "You are calling this a show of ugliness, so wouldn't it be better if I just dig a hole and bury myself?" Okay. Cheng Huan clapped, laughed, and praised. "You're so good at it. With this sword skill, Ding Ling, you are more than enough to be a military commander." "Don't dare." Ding Ling calmed down his momentum slightly. Confidence is a good thing, but if it is overacted and arouses Gao Lan's resentment, it will be counterproductive. Neither being humble nor being arrogant is the main theme, which will make people appreciate it more. Sure enough, when Gao Lan heard Cheng Huan's words, he looked a little unhappy, but Ding Ling's humble words made him look normal again. Gao Lan himself was just a military commander. As a new recruit, Ding Ling jumped up to his level. In less than half a day. How could this make Gao Lingqing so embarrassed? Cheng Huan also woke up, coughed dryly, and immediately changed the topic. "Ding Ling, you are so talented. I wonder what your plans are next. Should you follow me to find General Pan Feng? Or continue to study with Gao Lan? I am willing to continue studying with General Gao. Ding Ling climbed up the ladder very decisively. Gao Lan was speechless and waved his hands in frustration. I can't teach you any more. What I'm best at is battlefield shooting. The second is sword skills. But these two martial arts are passed down from family. I made an exception and taught you battlefield sword skills. I can no longer teach you battlefield shooting. That's a shame. Ding Ling was sorry. Cheng Huan glanced sideways. You still want to learn marksmanship? If possible, I would naturally want to learn. Do you think your talent in marksmanship is not inferior to that of swordsmanship? Yes. Ding Ling once again activated his full-level acting skills and started acting. I think I can definitely practice marksmanship. Don't act more confident. How could Cheng Huan take him to learn marksmanship from other generals? Amazing. Cheng Huan instinctively praised him, but he still hesitated a little. After thinking about it for a while, he said. Since it's no longer convenient for Gao Lan to teach you anymore. Just wait here while I go find Zhang He and ask. I can say a few good words about Zhang He. Gao Lan seemed to admire Ding Ling very much, and couldn't help but interject at this moment. Zhang He is good at marksmanship. He has learned all the marksmanship from beginner level to advanced level, and then to the family tradition marksmanship. It may be difficult to pass down the marksmanship passed down from the family. But for other marksmanship, let's talk about Xiang Yi, there shouldn't be much of a problem. This couldn't be better. Cheng Huan was overjoyed. Then Gao Lan, come with me. Okay. Gao Lan waved to Ding Ling. Ding Ling, let's go together. Almost at the same time, a beep sounds, obtained the achievement medal, highly recognized by Gao Lan. Note, your performance completely impressed Gao Lan and made him doubt his talent in martial arts. For this reason, he even had the idea of seeing whether your marksmanship talent is as strong as your swordsmanship talent. Another medal of achievement. Ding Ling became more and more curious about the function of this achievement medal. In fact, at first glance, this achievement medal is not something that ordinary people can get. How easy is it to impress a historical figure? Ta-ta. Gao Lan and Cheng Huan walked in front, Ding Ling is behind. Gao Lan touched the silk of the battlefield sword technique in his arms and felt infinite emotion in his heart. This was the first time in his life that he was struck by doubts by a new recruit. He had a strong premonition, maybe Ding Ling can also create miracles with Zhang He. Soon, arrive at Zhang He's military camp. He is also a military commander in the Jizhou barracks. When it comes to appearance and temperament, he is slightly better than Gao Lan. He was also training new recruits, and Ding Ling could tell at a glance that 99% of the new recruits here were players. Zhang He is a future five-sun general. His reputation will be resounding to future generations, and his name will remain in history. Players naturally like to practice martial arts under such famous generals. Zhang He was also very responsible and taught in a strict manner. When he saw Gao Lan coming, he stopped his work and asked his deputy to continue training with the new recruits. He went to the camp with Gao Lan and Cheng Huan to talk. Ding Ling did not go in. Waiting outside the camp, there are some things that are not convenient for him to say, and there is no point in going there at this time, but perhaps because of his improved strength, his five senses have become much clearer. Originally, it was impossible for him to hear other people's conversations clearly when they were farther away, but now he could hear clearly. Listening to the conversation between Gao Lan, Cheng Huan and Zhang He in the camp, Ding Ling blushed slightly, but soon, he returned to normal. After a while, Gao Lan opened the curtain and came out, waving to Ding Ling, motioning for him to come over. Ding Ling then entered the camp. Before I could stand still, I heard a clear voice asking, "Are you Ding Ling?" "Good." Ding Ling nodded instinctively, looked at the sound, and saw that it was Zhang He, and couldn't help but say, "I've met General Zhang. I'm just a military commander, so I don't need to be called a general." Zhang He smiled, waved his hand and said, "Just call me by my name." Gao Lan felt a little embarrassed while listening. He accepted the title of general calmly. Zhang he said this, and he felt that he needed to change, especially in front of a genius like Ding Ling. I won't say any more nonsense. Zhang he is obviously a resolute person, and he starts to point out the core elements of elementary marksmanship at the beginning. Just keep an eye on it. This is the elementary marksmanship that all the children of my Zhang family will learn. He practiced and explained while speaking, and he did not avoid Gao Lan and Qinghuan. After 2 passes, he looked at Ding Ling. How does it feel? Good. Ding Ling closed his eyes slightly. A book in the library then takes shape. Basic level marksmanship. Strength plus 0.1. Agility plus 0.2. Physique plus 0.1. Just for a breath, basic marksmanship is at full level. Ding Ling has already understood the essence of this elementary marksmanship and is able to easily perform a set of marksmanship. Oh, Zhang he didn't believe it. Although this elementary marksmanship seems simple, it is the foundation of all marksmanship. Only by mastering this elementary marksmanship can you go further in the field of marksmanship. I spent a lot of time just learning this elementary marksmanship. It took 2 years until I had completely refined it to the point where I could no longer make any progress, and then I started practicing intermediate marksmanship. He paused and said. Are you sure you have mastered this marksmanship? If you have mastered it, I will continue to teach you the intermediate level. If not, you can leave now. He looked at Ding Ling with bright eyes. Don't lie to me. I don't have to lie. Ding Ling walked to one side, picked up a long gun from the weapons rack, then walked to the open space on one side and started practicing. Call out. A spear was like an arrow piercing the air, or even more like a coiled poisonous snake. It was spitting in Ding Ling's hand, curling and bending, and it was harmful in every direction. Phew. A spear seemed to be able to pierce the void, but in an instant, it actually pierced 3 points of starlight. Chapter 10 High-Level Gun Skills. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Boom. The spear hit the pillar on the side, causing 3 small holes half an inch deep to appear on the pillar. Zhang he was shocked and stared at Ding Ling in disbelief. Qinghuan became more cheerful and laughed. As expected of Ding Ling. What a genius, so amazing. So good. So good. It's so flattering to me, that in order to let Zhang he teach Ding Ling how to shoot, he had boasted a lot about Ding Ling at Zhang he's place not long ago. Zhang he looked suspicious, feeling that Qinghuan was bragging, almost without concealing it. Now that Ding Ling has quickly learned the basic marksmanship, Zhang he's calmness no longer exists. How can this not make Qinghuan feel happy and feel that Ding Ling has given him a face? Gao Lan thought the same way, although he was not as exaggerated as Qinghuan said. He also helped a lot, which made Zhang he feel that Gao Lan had changed and degenerated, and everyone started to join in the same trend. Gao Lan naturally understood Zhang he's expression. He felt aggrieved and depressed for a while. He was also very worried that Ding Ling would not be able to learn marksmanship quickly and let Zhang he fully implement his ideas. Then he would not be able to escape even if he jumped into the Yellow River. Fortunately, to Gao Lan's great relief and excitement, Ding Ling turned out to be extremely talented in marksmanship. Now it seems that Zhang he has the nerve to talk about him. I have already told you that he is extremely talented. Gao Lan couldn't help but pretend to sigh. You still don't believe it. Now do you believe that there are real geniuses in this world? Zhang he was extremely speechless. From a young age, he has been one of the top geniuses in his clan, and even in the entire Jizhou. Especially when it comes to marksmanship and stick skills, he is unrivaled. Now he suddenly discovered a talent that was 100 times more terrifying than him. 1,000 times. 10,000 times. Characters. How could this not make Zhang he lose his composure and shock him? You must know that when he first learned this basic marksmanship, he had to lay the foundation for 2 years. How old is Ding Ling? Not even a quarter of an hour. This is too perverted. Are you sure you haven't experienced similar elementary marksmanship before? Zhang he deeply suspected that Ding Ling was playing tricks on him, and his face became uncertain. Gao Lan took one look and knew what Zhang he was thinking. After all, they had worked together for many years, and he also knew Zhang He's temper, so he hurriedly said. Brother Zhang, if you don't believe it, you can teach me intermediate and high-level marksmanship, or even the 5 tigers soul-destroying marksmanship handed down from your ancestors. Zhang He's face darkened. The 5 tigers soul-severing spear technique was a secret passed down from his family. How could it be taught secretly to outsiders? Unless Ding Ling signed a deed of sale to the Zhang family, there would be no hope. He didn't say this. If Ding Ling was really a genius, how could he sell himself to the Zhang family? He was just doubtful and explained the intermediate marksmanship to Ding Ling again. After 2 passes, Ding Ling closed his eyes slightly. Another book on intermediate marksmanship came out of the library. After a moment, intermediate marksmanship full level, strength plus 0.2, agility plus 0.3, physique plus 0.2. Ding Ling completely mastered the intermediate marksmanship in an instant. Strength, agility, and physique have all been improved. The big gun weighing several dozen kilograms in his hand became increasingly light and weightless. Ding Ling has a feeling that he is probably considered a strong one among the second-rate generals now. How long has it been? Progress is so fast. If these powers can really be brought back to the real world, then this mythical world will be a paradise. You demonstrate it again. Zhang He looked at Ding Ling with bright eyes. Ding Ling was also unambiguous. The spear came out like a dragon, clang clang clang. Sometimes the tip of the spear spits out a message like a poisonous dragon, sometimes like a python wrapping around it. A long spear points at the wooden pillar on the side, clang clang clang. This time, 4 stars lit up in an instant, leaving 4 small holes on the wooden pillars, and the depth seems to be deeper than last time. Zhang He was stunned. Chen Huan clapped and laughed. Gao Lan was impressed. Come again. Zhang He also taught advanced marksmanship. In the process of teaching marksmanship, Zhang He tested it several times and found that Ding Ling did not know or understand this high-level marksmanship. If he can learn this advanced marksmanship quickly, it means that he may really be a genius. Zhang He taught it twice as usual. Ding Ling closed his eyes again. Subsequently, books on high-level marksmanship were successfully gathered in the library. In an instant, high-level marksmanship, strength plus 0.3, agility plus 0.5, physique plus 0.3, all the secrets and essence of high-level marksmanship have almost melted into Ding Ling's bone marrow, making this high-level marksmanship an instinct for him. He didn't need to greet Zhang He and used his marksmanship again, clang, clang, clang. The gun shot out like lightning, turning into a meteor that moved back and forth in the void, clanging. In just 1 moment, 5 holes were left on the wooden pillars. And it's nearly an inch deep. From the beginning, his combat power in marksmanship has doubled. Zhang He's eyes widened and his lips trembled slightly uncontrollably. He didn't know whether it was caused by shock, trance, or too much shock. Too strong. Gao Lan looked at Ding Ling as if he were looking at a rising god of war. If there is a god of war in this world in the future, it will definitely be you, Ding Ling. That's right. Chen Huan was proud of it. It is my honor to have found Ding Ling from a group of new recruits, and it is something I will brag about in my life. He looked at Ding Ling and said solemnly. Ding Ling, you are extremely talented and have a bright future. Remember not to be too proud and complacent, and offend the masters, so as not to ruin your future. Before you achieve great success, you must stay stable. Ding Ling must remember the general's words. Ding Ling clasped his fists and replied solemnly. That's great. Chen Huan was more relieved. Gao Lan also nodded secretly. There are many talented geniuses who died halfway because they offended too many people. Ding Ling is so amazing. He doesn't want him to die, and wants to see how far Ding Ling can go. After all, he and Ding Ling have a bit of master-disciple relationship. When Ding Ling becomes successful in the future, he can help him a little. Although Zhang He was arrogant and conceited, he was beaten down by Ding Ling several times and he also restrained his strange views on Chen Huan and Gao Lan. For the first time, he publicly admitted that Gao Lan and Chen Huan had good vision and that he was too narrow-minded before. But Zhang he changed the subject. Although I can't teach Ding Ling the 5 Tigers soul-breaking spear technique, I can teach Ding Ling the water and fire dragon prisoner stick technique that I accidentally got. Really? Chen Huan was surprised and thanked Zhang He on behalf of Ding Ling. Zhang He raised his hand. Don't thank me yet. I have conditions. Just say it. Ding Ling said. Okay. Zhang He nodded. I won't be polite with you. I know you made a bet with Gao Lan. I also make a bet with you. If you can learn this water and fire dragon prisoner stick technique in a short time, I will teach you the diagram of this stick technique for free.